You've made money in the up market or down market, whether it was a Democrat or Republican in office. What advice do you give to anyone who's worried about this election season? And what's the blueprint for them to be able to get rich, regardless of what the political environment is come November?
Okay. Well, look, America continues to go and evolve regardless of who's in office. And ultimately, from a business perspective, it's, there's certain policies that can affect business, and there's certain policies that can affect real estate. So a couple of them we talked about is tax policy, incentivizing by giving tax credits or a tax abatement for certain types of uses or converting office buildings. That would be a very positive thing that the federal government level could do, and that would originate at the presidential level. And I think whoever wins that is going to want to solve that. But ultimately, I mean, we're going to do business, and everyone should be looking at doing business regardless of who wins the election. And there are pluses and minuses to each of these candidates. And so one of the things I would encourage everyone to do is to look at, various policies. But this country has gotten through many different changes politically and has survived and endured and prospered. And people are making money under every political environment. And so it's up to the challenge of the entrepreneur to be focused on the goal and the objective, not the, like the noise out there. I mean, so at the end of the day, America endures. We've got a multi-check and balance system in the country, and not all policies that originate from Trump are going to be bad, and not all policies that Kamala Harris would implement as president would be against businesses. I think you'll see a more balanced approach with Harris in terms of workers' rights and business rights. I think with a Trump administration, you'd see more pro-business. What I think we should be asking all of them, both of them, is what's their agenda in terms of providing access to capital to Black entrepreneurs. I gave the keynote last Thursday to the National Association of Black Hotel Owners and Operators in Miami. And one of the things I pointed out is the history of affirmative action. Affirmative action was started in 1961. I was 1 year old when John Kennedy signed an executive order for affirmative action for government contracting. That's the first time that anything like that had happened. And the two beneficiaries of that opportunity were Black Americans and Native Americans. And the theory is that the country was built on land stolen from Native Americans, and their culture essentially wiped out. And then Blacks built the country, kidnapped Black African slaves, were kidnapped, brought over here to build the country for free, and free labor. And that lasted 249 years. And the country got a tremendous wind in its sails because of this free labor, and then 100 plus years of oppression. So the idea is that the country owed Black Americans and Native Americans a debt for building the nation. And then Lyndon Johnson changed it a little bit and made it include national origin. And then it, like so many other things, once the politicians got hold of it, it started getting watered down. And what started off as something to right a wrong, or begin to right a wrong and level the playing field, got all sidetracked. It was Richard Nixon in 1968 signed an executive order again for the Office of Minority Business and for contracting for Black businesses. And the decision was because the country owed Black Americans a debt for slavery and the oppression, and that because of what our community experienced, we were not given the same resources to go and compete like there was a meritocracy. It was like having the Indianapolis 500 race. You got two drivers driving Ferraris. Both of them are as good as each other, but driver one gets to start off on lap 450 and driver two has to start off on lap one. And so then they say, may the best driver win. And the only way that driver two wins is if driver one crashes and burns. That's kind of how our community has been treated. And so what we got to get back to, and that, I think why we're hearing this pushback on DEI and so forth, is it's too broad. Anybody who voluntarily immigrated to this country, regardless of what their skin color is, they came here for a better life and actually got it. But they came here voluntarily. So this country doesn't owe them a debt. They owe the country a debt. Our people built the country for free. These industries would never have been able to exist in this country if it weren't for our people. And so there's a debt to be owed. And so until we start, and we have been placed in such a disadvantage economically and educationally that it's nearly impossible for us to equitably compete without some righting of the wrongs. And today, there's $87 trillion invested in venture capital and private equity, $87 trillion. And out of that, less than 0.25% is invested with Black-owned businesses, 0.25%. The Forbes 400 right now has 3 Black people on it. And if it were a equitable situation, then it would be 56, because our population is 14% of this country. So we don't have a meritocracy, and we need to be focusing our energy on whoever becomes president, that they got to move an agenda for us economically forward.